Hello everyone. In this video we will see how we can use nested query parameters in ODataV4. For demonstration purposes, let's temporarily disable our auto expand select here in manifest.json and set it to false. And in our home view, let's go to our table binding and add the two expanded navigation properties we needed. So we say parameters. And in here $expand we had status and emails. Now if we check our application, it's running as usual, and if we check our request, we have the people entity set and expanded status and emails. Now let's check our metadata, and if we check our people, we can see that we have a navigation property named emails, which we have expanded, and its type of email addresses. And if we check that entity type, probably this one exactly, we can see that it also has a navigation property type. And if we check that one, we can see that it has some properties named description and code. Now say we want to use this name of our email types and display it next to every email address here. So we will have to expand the already expanded emails entity set. So it will be a nested expand. And let's first see how we can do this in Postman. And I have this request here, which is exactly the same as we currently have. It's just people entity set with expanded status and emails. And we can run it, get our data back, and here are emails. And now to expand a navigation property of another navigation property, we need to add parentheses after that, and now we can add one or more query parameters just related to this emails navigation property. Since we want to expand another nav property, we can say $expand equals, and it was named type. Let's double check it. Emails, email addresses is the entity type, and navigation properties type. So let's go back and expand type. And now if we check, we have emails, and for each email we also have this type nav property, which has the name property that we need to display. Now let's go back to our code and actually implement the same logic in our XML binding. And now we used to add all the expand parameters separated by commas, but we will need a deeper configuration now. So instead of a simple string, we will convert this expand parameter to an object. And our expand statements will become object keys. So we had status first. And the values will also be objects, but since we have no nested parameters for the status, we will just pass in an empty object. And for our emails, we will pass in an object, and inside we will have another $expand, and the value will be type. Now if we save, we should be able to see in our request expand emails and also expand type of emails. Now let's use this information. Here is the VBox control that we display all the emails, and here next to email address, let's put in parentheses, and here we can say type/name. And now we can see the names of the types of our emails. Now let's say we want to filter out all the email addresses which are work emails. So we only want to see the personal emails, which means we will have to filter an expanded entity set. Again, first let's see how we can do that in Postman. And now we have the emails navigation property, which has a nested expand, and now we also need to pass in a filter here. And how we can do that is we need to separate these query parameters with semicolons. So we enter a semicolon and then we can say filter equals, and the field we want to filter the emails is this type code right here, W4 work. So we want to filter these out. So we can say filter equals type code not equals W in between single quotes, since it's a string field. Now if we run this, we have an error, type code not equals. Okay, I missed the $sign here. It's $filter. And now we can see the emails. We only get the personal emails. Work emails are filtered out, as you can see. Now again, let's see how we can do that in our XML code. Let's go back to our table binding. Now we just need to pass in another query parameter here, $filter. And it will be the same as we had in Postman, slightly different. So we said type code not equals W in single quotes, and since we are in XML, we have to escape these single quotes using backslashes. And let's save it. And now we have the exact same result. Again, you can check your request payload and you will see expand and filter separated by a comma. Now let's also add some select statements so we don't get back every single property. So before expand for our people endpoint, let's add $select. And this will be an array of fields. Let's see what we need. Username, first name, last name, but we need the technical names. So let's find the people entity type. So let's see, we need username, first name, last name, username spelled like this, yes, then first name, last name. We also had age in there, I think, age and gender. And for status, let's also add a select query parameter. So we say $select. And here we should just select the code and the name, but let's make sure. So the status nav property is of type user status. Let's find this entity type. Name, description, code. Description we don't need, it's empty anyway. So let's select code and name. Code and name. We can also see here in our object status, these are the only ones we need anyway. And for our, let's see, emails, when we expand type, we also don't need everything from the type. We can again just use the code and name. Let's double check. In Postman actually it's easier. So for the email type, description is null anyway, so let's select code and name. And once again, since we will have a nested property, we have to convert this into an object. And the key will be type, name of the navigation property. And we want to set the select query parameter, so $select. Again, we need the code and the name. Now let's go back to our app, and everything is working as expected. And if we check our batch request payload here, we can see the select, we can see expand and nested select for the status, also emails and nested expand and another nested select as the third level. and then we have our filter, etc. Now this should be the exact same request if we convert everything back. So let me just duplicate this tag and comment out this part so it stays here. And I will take away everything, just leave the endpoint people. And I will again enable auto expand select. And now if we check our app, it's almost the same. We have removed the filter for the emails, but if we check the batch request, it looks almost the same, just our filter is missing. And now let's see how we can also add this filter without disabling auto expand and select. So we go back to our table and find our VBox that will list all the emails, and we just simply add a filter relative to this emails path. So we say here parameters, and we simply say $filter, and it was type code not equals W with the single quotes escaped. Now let's save and check again. Now the filter is also working, and if we check the request payload, it is exactly the same as we did and commented out. This will be all for this video, and see you in the next one.